Okay. I also kind of jumped ahead of myself here, and I didn't introduce everyone that's on the phone call or this webinar right now. Some of us should look familiar. Again, my name is Erin. I manage the VISTA program and the Summer Associate program. And then maybe you can just go around.
Yeah, Josh Vanek. I'm the Campus Compacts Associate Director.
Sam Gerritsen. I'm your AmeriCorps leader, I guess, for the last week of service.
Yeah, Sam just came on.
I'm Lacey. I'm the program specialist.
Great. Okay, I wish we had a remote clicker thing, but I guess I'll just stand here and hit it. Okay, so again, thank you for your service. Congratulations, you're wrapping up. And this webinar is mostly to go through some of your next steps and making sure you wrap up service on good terms with us, and also just in terms of, we have some tips moving forward from this point on. Okay, so Josh, I think you're gonna start us off.
Okay.
I can click through it here for you.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, hi everybody. One of the big reasons I think folks, or one of the big benefits of doing AmeriCorps service and AmeriCorps VISTA service is the education award that you receive once you've successfully completed a term. And so I'm just gonna spend the next 15 or so minutes talking about that and how you make use of that thing and answer any questions that you've got. So the full title of this thing is the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award. It's named for Eli Siegel, who was the first CEO of the Corporation for National and Community Service, which is where AmeriCorps and VISTA are housed. So it's a federal agency with offices in DC, and we work closely with them to bring kind of the resources that supported your service to Montana. Typically, this thing is just called the AmeriCorps Education Award, or even more simply, the Ed Award. So you get it after you've successfully completed a term of service, and you may actually accrue several of them if you enjoyed what you did as a summer member. You have lots of ability to earn additional education awards in your life. So the amount is variable. So for folks who, like Sam or the full-time VISTAs or AmeriCorps members, there's like a full education award based on essentially a full year or a full-time term. And that's pegged with the Pell Grant, and it's just under $6,000. The amount for the education award amount for summer associates and summer AmeriCorps members is $1,222. And so this thing is basically a voucher in your name that you have 7 years to use. And it can be used for costs of attendance. We'll get into a little bit more of some of the uses. But it's held by the federal government in the National Service Trust in your name and your name only. So we don't really have access to it. We don't touch it. It's yours. So some of the things this education award can be used for: current costs of attendance at qualifying institutions. That's pretty much anybody who can accept Title IV dollars, which means any kind of accredited institution. So if they can take federal loans or federal grants, that's anywhere from like cosmetology, 2-year, 4-year, private, public, as long as it's an accredited institution, typically they can take an education award. And it can also be used to pay back your qualifying student loan debt. So your subsidized loans that you've taken out from the federal government. And as you'll see, you have some flexibility with how you use the Ed Award. You can either make monthly payments with it, if that's what helps you most at the time, or you can reduce your principal, your debt principal down. It can also be used for things like international study, continuing ed, courses that are non-credit bearing. And we also have a generous match here in Montana by several of our MTCC affiliate campuses. So we'll talk about that. So using it is as simple as logging into your MyAmeriCorps portal. So the spot that you applied to us from is my.americorps.com I think. You can go back to that. If you forget your password, there's a password reset deal. But this really is your own kind of personal thing. We don't have any access to that, so any difficulty you have with it, you'll take up directly with the National Service Trust. So once you're in that system, you go into the Education Award portion of it, and you'll find kind of a little pull-down menu, and you can navigate to using your Education Award, and then you essentially populate the college or university or the loan holder that you'd like to send the funds to, type in the amount that you want to send, and confirm that everything is correct and finalize it. And then once you've sent that, you can track the payment also in the MyAmeriCorps system. But the final, thing that one needs to do is go and talk with the folks at the financial aid office if you're making a payment to your recurrent educational expenses, or the loan holder, and make sure that the funds have arrived so that they're put to use. So I'll pause for a minute. That's a lot of info. Folks have questions, either unmute yourselves, or we can go to the chat box.
Where's the mouse?
Oh,
So is that how the University of Montana matches the education award, is just through the AmeriCorps portal? Is that what you're describing?
Nope, the AmeriCorps portal is simply a good question. So Crystal is talking about the match that I just briefly mentioned, and I'll get more into detail on that. But that match actually happens by talking to a financial aid officer at the campus where you want to spend the funds, and saying, look, I heard that UM matches the AmeriCorps Education Award. I'd like to make use of that. And then they will put the wheels in motion. But that's done actually at the institution itself.
Okay.
Good question. Others? Okay. A. Peterson. When do the funds arrive? If we start fall on the 29th, is it available then? Yeah, so I think I've heard they typically take up to 2 weeks, and sometimes they're much faster, correct? Like a couple of days even. They'll appear electronically as a balance in your account there in MyAmeriCorps. So by the 29th, knock on wood, you should have the ability to use them. A. Peterson, whose first name I ought to know.
Oh, no, this is Brandon Sheridan.
Oh, Brandon, okay. Alicia asks, can the funds be used for cost of living while attending school? So depending on the institution's rules, you may be able to do things like purchase books or a laptop or other kind of costs of attendance. And that's a good thing to kind of meet with your financial aid officer about and say, look, I've got an education award, I've got my tuition covered for my fall semester, but I do have some pretty serious expenses I'm planning, that are school related. What do I need to do? And typically you can apply the funds to your campus, they're put into a student account for you, and then you can do things like make purchases at a bookstore or pay for campus housing. And there is some flexibility that way. Good question. But that does vary campus by campus. So Brandon and Sheridan are having technical difficulties on their phones. So if they've already received funding for payment for a semester and owe nothing, will that amount be available for refund then? Okay, so it sounds like their tuition bill has been paid and they now have this education award. Will the amount be available for a refund? It's for any past things that have been settled with your campus. No, I don't think this applies to. It's current costs. So if it's already been paid, I don't believe that there would be any refund that is issued to you by the trust. But again, that may be something that your individual campus has a policy around that is different. A lot of this, any of the flexible sorts of ways of using your education award really depend campus by campus. Some are very strict about the use of federal funds, others are very liberal, and it's really a good conversation to individually have with your financial aid officer. Good questions. Okay, so yeah, basically the interface to make payments is like online bill pay or something like that, where you kind of figure out who you want to send the money to, put the amount in there, and hit submit. It's very straightforward.
Next.
Next, please. Thank you.
Did that work?
Oh. Okay, so as you may have heard, the education award is taxable in the year that it's used, and taxes are not withheld when you do use it. Now, repeat it, they're not withheld. So unlike your typical earnings, where a portion of your, of those earnings are set aside and, get applied to your tax bill come year end, that doesn't happen with the AmeriCorps Education Award, because you don't, nothing happens until the year that you use it. And when in that year that you are using it or using some of it, you'll be issued a 1099, which says, okay, here was the amount that you spent this year, and this goes into, figure this into your taxes. So it's your responsibility when you're using your education award to predict what, if any, tax implications are going to be that year and make your plans accordingly. There's ways around this. If you're using the education award when you're a full-time student and your income is pretty minimal, you're probably not going to see a huge impact. Other times, if you're working full-time and have pretty solid income and you use an entire education award, you'll probably have some tax burden that you have to pay. So this part is crucial because folks, I think, get zinged oftentimes. They're like, oh, I did AmeriCorps and I earned about $1,200 in an education award, and I didn't really pay attention to the whole tax thing, and at year end I had to pay a couple $100. I didn't realize. So do take some time to understand if there's going to be any tax implications in the year that you use it, and make your plans so that you get the most bang for your buck. Next one, please.
Oh, that's fine.
So some suggestions about figuring this out and what the specific tax burden is for the education award. You can look at a tax table and see if it increases your income essentially to the point where you move from one tax bracket to another and have to pay higher taxes. You also can choose to spread the use of the education award across more than one tax year. So perhaps you use half of your education award this fall and the second half in 2017. Those are a couple of solutions that folks seem to make work around this deal of it being taxed. Some other good resources out there. Nationalservice.gov is the kind of federal clearinghouse for all things AmeriCorps and VISTA. And specifically this URL, we'll send you this PowerPoint after we get off today. But this has kind of great stuff about the education award and folks that match it. VISTA Campus is also a kind of training and technical assistance clearinghouse that has really good information on using the education award. FAFSA.ed.gov, which is the financial aid website, has a great list of the foreign institutions that take Title IV funding. So if you've got a wild hair and want to study abroad using your education award, that's the route to do it. And any other resources that folks know of with Ed Award info? All right, keep moving. So when you have questions about your education award, the spot to go is nationalservice.gov for kind of FAQ kinds of things, tools and resources. And if you've got specific problems happening, like I sent $600 to the University of Montana and they're saying it never arrived. For that type of a question, you go to the National Service Trust Hotline, and that phone number is 800-942-2677. And through the Trust or the National Service Hotline's website, you also can submit an email question that kind of gets you the same process as calling the Trust directly. So a little bit about the match. Crystal referenced this earlier. So Campus Compact is this coalition of 18 colleges and universities across Montana. And this network started matching the Ed Award in 2016. So 13 of our 18 colleges match the Education Award in some form currently. And so if you want to learn more about that, and typically it's a $1,000 match. When you spend $1,000, the campus will put up $1,000 either in a fee waiver or some other kind of specific value that gets you an additional $1,000 when you use your $1,000 education award. And this is really our network of institutions saying, thank you for doing AmeriCorps service. Thank you for being a VISTA. We want, to lower essentially the cost of higher education by $1,000 for you if you choose to go here. So you can find the list of all the institutions in Montana that match the Education Award on our website under Awards and Scholarships. If you go to Siegel AmeriCorps Education Awards on that pull-down menu, there's the big list and kind of the detail about what each individual campus provides. Typically, these matches are for current costs of attendance, not for paying back loans. Some restrictions may apply. Flathead Valley Community College puts up 3 matches annually. The University of Montana, on the other hand, has not given us an upper cap, so they will match until they tell us they can't do it anymore. And the way to put this into motion is to meet with the financial aid office and say, look, I want to spend my education award here. I hear that the university matches it, or I hear that this college matches the education award. I'd like to put that into motion. And if folks have any questions about that or are not sure what you're talking about, I am more than happy to call financial aid officers and explain and provide a kind of overview and kind of background for anyone. So please don't hesitate to kind of be the squeaky wheel, as this is a relatively new thing going on in Montana, and there may be some bumps in the road. All right. Thanks, everybody. Any further questions on Education Award? All right. Well, you can email me or call me, so feel free. Thanks again.
Great. Thanks, Josh. Okay. So I'm just going to briefly go through the next, maybe I'll sit down so people can see me in this screen. Your exit process. So again, I mentioned this when we first started, but many of you are ending your summer service tomorrow, the 9th. There's a few folks that are ending their service the following week. I believe that all of you have done this by now, to initiating the exit process, which is pretty simple, luckily, for summer associates. The first step is to fill out your future plans form, and that's, again, part of your portal, your MyAmeriCorps.gov account. And you fill out on that form, complete my service as scheduled on either the 9th or I think the 15th or the 16th is the other date that some of you are ending on. And that'll kind of initiate you to complete your term and then to be eligible to receive that education award. The other exit process that's crucial for us is to complete your monthly report. So this is your second monthly report. It was due on Friday. You should have received a reminder on Friday, or you did receive a reminder on Friday from Sam, our VISTA leader. If you have not completed that report, he will be calling you today So again, this is crucial for us. These numbers really matter. They help us show the impact that you've made and help us also apply for future funding from the government for summer associates. And so again, we'll be in touch if you have not received that, but please, 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 or if you've not completed that, please, please, please complete those reports today if you have not already, as they were due on Friday. And then this other very important other stuff here is to wrap up your service at your site, is to finish up any final projects, help with cleanup for summer camps, help with your own site's evaluation data as they need you, and then to travel home safely. Some of you are not from Montana, so you'll be flying or driving back to wherever you came from, and many of you are going back to school in the fall. So that's a little bit of obvious stuff to wrap up your service and to travel home safely, but we thought we'd put that in there too. Okay, any questions on this exit process? Again, it's pretty...
Do the head of, Joel's on vacation right now. Does he have to sign off on anything?
No, good question. So yeah, that's actually another part. So your supervisors will complete an evaluation of you that I will enter into your future plans form on your portal. So you can view that after they finish it. I asked for that. That's due, I think, this Wednesday. So you can log back in to on your MyAmeriCorps.gov account to view that evaluation. Like I said, I'll be entering that into your forms. But that's the only thing that they need to do to wrap up your service. Thanks, Crystal.
And then this is for VISTA Summer Associates. AmeriCorps members, a couple of you that are on this, have a different process, and you'll hear from Danette on what that is.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Okay. Is this you, Lacey?
Yeah.
Okay. I can also.
All right. I don't have much for this, but so you can create an account on AmeriCorpsAlums.org. I put that link up there. And kind of stay in touch with. They have job listings. They send out emails maybe once a month. I don't get a lot from them, but it's really useful to be part of that. And then the vistacampus.gov is another one. They have a lot of resources on there as well. So I would just say get on there, poke around, see what you can find, sign up for stuff. It's just a really good way to keep in the loop with national service, not just in Montana, but in the country. So. That's kind of all I have.
Okay.
And there are alumni networks across the country, both in Montana. There's AmeriCorps alums, and every state and lots of cities have their own kind of alumni network. So if you want to kind of network with other folks who have done AmeriCorps VISTA service, this is kind of the front door to that, and it can kind of set you up with, okay, here are the folks in Cleveland that get together as AmeriCorps alums and all around the country.
Great. So we have a couple questions. So this is either from Brandon or Sheridan. Our site has plans to hire us on after our service ends. Then is there an opportunity to go through AmeriCorps, or would that be regular work study? That's great that your site would like to hire you on. From my understanding, you would not be part of that process because your summer associate position has ended. We will talk about future AmeriCorps opportunities, but we don't have something set up with the YMCA in Missoula. So that would be, they would process you independently from us. And Jeff, you said re-enroll on your form, and we took care of that, so you're all set. You're going to complete your service. You should have completed your service already because your term was a little different than everyone else's. Okay. Moving on, I'm just going to X out of this here. Okay, Sam, this is you.
Hello, everyone. Many of you are probably wondering how you can bolster your resume through this kind of unique experience that not a lot of people have had. So I threw up on the screen here some do's and don'ts of using your term of service on your resume or just talking about it in general. So I would definitely recommend you bring up the communities in which you served and the fact that most of you are working with disadvantaged populations or youth or veterans or whatever the case may be. I think that's something that you'll want to drive home on your resume. Also focus on using action words, ones such as that I've used a lot on my resume are ones like facilitated, produced, collaborated, or expanded, current programs, or I know many of you were probably doing direct service, but I think those action terms can be very useful, even for those who did direct service. And then kind of just remember that, you know, make it about an outcomes orientation or accomplishments orientation. So, you know, with an outcomes at the end. So there's an example there, coordinated with local farmers and the State Department to create conservation plans for farms in 5 rural areas. And then maybe talk about like the sustainability of the projects or programs that you worked with. Also from our office, not a lot of people are going to know what MTCC or the VAD and all these other jargons that we've been using throughout our program. And a lot of people actually don't even know what AmeriCorps is. So you may want to take a little bit of space on your resume to make it known that this wasn't a work, it wasn't like a typical work experience. It was a service. You were in service to your communities and your country. Especially since you'll be writing, you know, a 1-year term of service. An employer may look at that and see, oh, they were only employed for a year, but if they or I guess the summer, but if they understood that it was through AmeriCorps, they may look at it differently. And then right at the bottom, there's just some examples of ways you could start a sentence or a bullet point on your resume to talk about your service. And there's one more slide. And so Lacey just talked about some alum resources, but these are the top 5 skills from the VISTA campus that have been identified for VISTA alums. And it's accessible online, but just quickly, I mean, initiative, interpersonal and intercultural communication. So if you worked on a reservation for your term of service, I would definitely add that as like a cultural partnership. VISTAs are typically very adaptable. I mean, many of you have come from across the country or resettled in areas where you've had very little idea of the resources or the people. So that's definitely adaptability at its finest. And then collaboration work that you do with working with other VISTAs or you know, tying in partnerships with your communities. And then accountability, since we've been doing a lot of reporting and site reporting, specific reporting. So always staying on top of the sustainability efforts that you guys have been doing over the summer. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. Yeah. And Deb, certainly chime in with any questions.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, obviously.
All right, we'll move on. Okay, future VISTA and AmeriCorps opportunities. So we'll talk about this from my side. So we will likely have summer associate positions for next year, and we'd love to have you folks plug into those opportunities. So we'll probably be sending you an email in the spring of 2017, and you can certainly take initiative and look for our postings. We keep this website up to date. This is www.mtcompact.org. There's an arrow under the tab on that bar. It says service opportunities. Encourage you to keep checking that bar for all future opportunities, especially if you had a great time with your site this summer, you're interested in checking out a different opportunity. We will have 10-week positions, or we expect to have 10-week positions open again next summer. Other exciting positions that we have, and we've referenced them throughout this webinar, is we do have full-time positions, and those are if you're required to have a college degree. So after you complete college, we have year-long opportunities throughout Montana, and those will likely be in July 2017 to July 2018. It's crazy to be saying 2018. Anyway, so again, those will be posted in the service opportunities. Those are more capacity building, more indirect service, but you will receive that education award of almost $6,000 that Josh was mentioning earlier. So it's another great opportunity coming out of college to gain some more skills, and now that you've entered this VISTA world, you certainly have a better understanding of what national service is, and that would make you a great fit for those full-time opportunities. So don't worry, we'll keep you in the loop too. We've got your email addresses. We'll certainly be plugging you into things as they come available, positions as they become available, but this is just for your reference.
All right, maybe Josh can touch on this with me too, but we have some AmeriCorps State National positions, one in our office, maybe 2 on campus, 2 member positions, and then a lot of other positions throughout the state. And we can email you with the details if anyone's interested. I might even just send you an email with the link once we have these fully developed. Is there anything you want to add, Josh, about our State National?
Yeah, so our AmeriCorps program has will have student positions across Montana beginning this fall and going through the spring semester. So UM and potentially 8 other campuses. You may already know the folks at the campus that run the AmeriCorps program, but feel free to email us or let us know if you want more on that. And then kind of similar to VISTA, full-time VISTA, we have some full-time AmeriCorps leader positions that are very analogous, I guess, in benefits and pay and so forth to the VISTA term, but quite different where the service is concerned, in that you're kind of leading a team of college students and setting up volunteer projects for them and doing reflection and working with partner to provide direct services, especially that support access to college. So a lot of great opportunities there, and more than happy to, we love working with our alums and folks that have done service with Campus Compact. So if it's something that even remotely interests you, shoot us an email, please.
Awesome. Okay. And that wraps everything up. So we can definitely stay on the line if anyone has any questions. And we also all want to, again, thank you for your service. We hope you had a great time in Montana if you're not from here. And talking to some of your supervisors and reading the reports that you've been submitting, sounds like you all have been making incredible impacts with your sites this summer. So again, we thank you for your time and energy.
Thanks, everyone.
Woohoo! You did it! Okay, so let's see, we got a chat here. So is Andrea around? She said I may use my VISTA service for a nonprofit minor. Is that you, Crystal, that's asking that question? Okay.
Yes, so the university, so civic engagement does, one of the big programs they offer is a nonprofit administration minor, and your VISTA summer associate service or your AmeriCorps summer term of service count as, I think, the internship portion of that minor. So that's a good thing to meet directly with Andrea Vernon, who also serves as Campus Compact's executive director. But her other hat is civic engagement at UM, and that's where the nonprofit minor is. So she can be, her email is the same as any of ours, just her last name, which is Vernon at MT Compact. Or if you go to the University of Montana's webpage and look for civic engagement, there's the full contact list for the staff and more information on the nonprofit administration minor. But great, thank you for bringing that up.
Okay. Well, again, we'll stick around for another minute of questions, but that concludes our webinar. So you're free to go.
Thanks, everybody, again.
Okay.
I'll be right back.